everybody, welcome to Grace at Night. Today, I have Silas Rude with me, my first Gen A'er ever on this podcast. Really excited to hear your thoughts on a lot of things that I'm kind of thinking about. To start, tell me what it's like in the life of a 10-year-old.
Well, it's pretty fun. I mean, there's a lot of different things to do and you can do. Well, you obviously still live with your parents and you get to I don't really know how to put it, but your parents are in charge of you.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. And hopefully they are still, to some degree. But you're at the age where you just finished elementary school.
Yeah.
And you're about to go into junior high. And junior high just feels like a whole different animal, right?
Yeah.
And so, how do you feel, I mean, in this day and age, how do you feel about your independence? Do you feel like it's something you're ready for?
I have no idea, to be honest. Not really. Not really.
Why is that?
I mean, I just like being with my parents and having fun with them, playing games with them and stuff. Mm-hmm. I just like being with them in general.
Yeah. Well, that's really good. I'm glad to hear that. Tell me a little bit about what you're interested in. What kind of things are that you like to play, what games or whatever?
So, I play a lot of video games. Mm-hmm. I'll play poker and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do a bunch of music.
Tell me more.
So I am currently in a band called Red Chains. It's a 2-man band kind of inspired by 21 Pilots. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Yep.
And alternative rock, yeah.
Okay.
We've written 2 songs with AI. And
no kidding.
Yeah. And it's, we don't have all of the instruments we need yet. We still need a drum set, and my bandmate Ryan is going to get it pretty soon. Mm-hmm. They've already paid for it.
Okay. So, that's cool. That's really awesome. It's really cool to see someone as young as you, go for their creative endeavors and kind of what they want to do. But the part that I'm really interested in is when you say AI. You've written 2 songs with AI. What does that mean?
Well, you type a few words into ChatGPT and it just comes out with a whole line of lyrics. It just makes a whole song.
And how does it make sense?
Yeah, actually. Mm-hmm. So the song Passenger, I didn't really give it any context. I just told it a 21 Pilots style song. Mm-hmm. And it came out with this song called Passenger. And it's what I think it's about is being stuck in a place you don't want to be, metaphorically and mentally. Mm-hmm. And it's just being not, I don't really know how to put it. But
that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Well, it's kind of wild to me that, you put in very little information and it was able to come out with something that was pretty realistic. Is it just the words or is it with the music and everything as well?
It's just the lyrics.
Okay, just the lyrics.
Yeah.
And so, to me, I think for most people, my generation and older, that's mind-blowing, right? Because it used to be, people are really obsessed with the craft of songwriting or of really any creative endeavor in general. Writing a sermon, poetry, anything like that. Yeah. And now you can just kind of generate it. Do you feel like that takes away from your creativity at all?
Most likely. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just couldn't really come to mind of anything. Mm-hmm. So because it really takes a long time to write a song.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I just
and then
just wrote out a whole song.
Right, and it just happens. And then maybe the creative part of it for now is you getting to put music to that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but do you think one day AI is going to be able to do that as well? Just create music alongside the lyrics?
They already are capable of doing that, but it's not good at all.
Okay.
It's still in development. And like people on YouTube are just like putting random lyrics in there, and like they're typing out lyrics, and it makes the song along with it, and like you put in the genre, and it like it just makes like this song how you want it to be.
Yeah. So how do you feel about someone who might say something to you like that's not real art, or like you didn't write that? Like how do you feel? You know what I mean?
I mean I didn't write that part. I would agree with them because I didn't write it.
Sure.
But I mean, I wouldn't feel opposed to their opinion, but I just feel like I would not really care.
Do you think that most of the kids in your age group would want to like take the time to write original lyrics and stuff, or do you think everyone's just gonna be like, yeah, if I can do it with AI, why not just do it with AI?
In my generation, they would definitely want to do it with AI, but very few people would probably want to do it in my generation, like write out a song.
Like write out a song.
Yeah.
So why do you think that?
Because my generation is pretty much like glued to screens all the time, and it like takes away some of their attention span, and so it doesn't really. They think they don't have the time to do it, but they really do, because like you just like get home from school and do it, you know.
Interesting.
If you don't have anything to do.
Sure, yeah, and I think that's fair. And I think like technology has a place in all of our lives. It's certainly helpful in a lot of ways. But you know, to me, and I think to a lot of people, technology can be harmful in a lot of ways too.
Oh, definitely.
And so, how do you ride the line between what's helpful and what's harmful? Both generally speaking, like in your use of technology, but also in like how you use it for creative things like writing a song.
Like, where do I draw the line? So I would say wherever you think is like not for work and like not fun, I would draw the line there.
What do you mean not for work and not fun?
Well, and or.
Oh, and or. Okay. So if it's not for work and it's not fun, but I feel like especially when it comes to like iPads or really a lot of stuff on your phone, most of it's fun, right? All the social media apps and all of that. Okay, so what wouldn't be included in those categories? Like,
just like random doom scrolling.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so where you should draw the line is like with doom scrolling. So it's like unintentional. So if you're not intentionally using it, maybe. Okay, cool. And then where do you think you should draw the lines creatively?
Like, where do you think? Like, what do you mean by that?
Like using AI to write something versus not using AI, or like like something that's really powerful now for some people is to go like into the middle of the woods or somewhere where you don't have internet, you don't have anything, and then just kind of let your brain create, and you bring a pen and paper and you journal things out. So a lot of people would consider retreats like that to be kind of a powerful experience in some ways.
It definitely can be.
Okay, and so like where do you see the line being drawn as far as like what's going to get you the most creative,
Most creative. Probably what you just said.
Okay.
Or like in just like maybe like lock yourself in a room for an hour and just like lock in on what you're doing.
So then why do you say that you feel like most kids your age are just going to do it with AI instead?
Well, because they don't really like want to write out a song, and like it's obviously going to take time, but it's not going to take so much time out of your day that you can't do anything.
Interesting. How long is too much time?
I'd say probably like for a day.
Yeah, like how much time is too much time for that kids won't want to like sit down and just write stuff anymore and would much rather save that time using AI?
Probably about like 2 hours.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking too. So like basically the idea of sitting down and writing something for like 8 hours is probably just not going to happen.
Definitely.
Okay,
Unless
interesting.
an adult with like a fully developed brain,
Uh-huh.
and like you have so much free time that you can pretty much do anything you want.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us wish we had that kind of free time, you know. But it's yeah. So you know that's kind of where I'm living right now. Like I'm trying to figure out how can I use AI or technology in general to help create more time for myself, right? But I do often find that when I create more time for myself, I end up like wasting that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you oh man, like I was able to do something faster for an hour or two.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do feel that hour or two that I get with like doom scrolling or like with whatever. And so like what you know, if you feel so strongly about being able to draw a fine line between what you use technology for and what you don't use technology for, do you feel that you'll have the willpower to say whenever you do save time with technology to be able to use that time for something really productive, like sitting down and journaling or something? Or do you feel like technology has just such a strong pull that you just use that time, you know, doom scrolling like I sometimes do?
Well, it depends on what kind of day you're having, kind of.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Like,
that's fair.
If you had a bad day, you can pretty much just scroll all day on your phone, like try to find something like happy or something.
Yeah.
Or like, if you had a really good day, you could be like really productive and stuff. And it could be the opposite for some people.
Yeah, sure.
But that's how I feel about it.
That's really cool. So, you know, clearly we're in a church right now, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a church, but it doesn't really quite look like one,
Yeah,
right? Whatever
definitely.
a church is supposed to look like. And I work for a church. And, you know, something that I think about all the time is like, will AI replace some of the things we do in church? For example, I brought up earlier sermon writing. I know Tyler, the associate
Yeah.
teaching pastor here.
I was talking to him about that, and he said he wrote a sermon just
Yeah.
like for fun to see what would happen, and it wrote out like an hour-long sermon.
Yeah, which is crazy, you know? And it's like, sure, maybe not most, maybe like there are definitely some things in that sermon that were just like wrong or like
Yeah.
there's lots of errors. But like the fact that it could do that
Yeah, it was amazing.
in such a short period of time and that most of it was fine, you know?
Yeah.
I think that like in a year or two, you'll probably get really excellent sermons from AI because it's like,
Yeah.
it's like not to bash on you, Tyler, but like if you can take the collective knowledge of like John Piper and Billy Graham and all these like giant, you know, and like create sermons using their collected works, you know? I mean, actually, here's a question for you. Do you feel like that's plagiarism?
Plagiarism.
Yeah.
Oh, well, in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're using somebody else's like style of doing it, and not really like being original.
True. But it is original content, right?
Well,
It's
yeah.
stuff that's like never been written
Yeah.
in that same way before. Because like, and honestly, like a lot of, I mean, I don't know how it is nowadays in school, but you know, I remember me growing up when we were writing essays and stuff, we had to quote people and you had to cite your resources and things like that. And so like, in a way, you are taking the collective knowledge of other people who have come before you when you're writing a paper or something like that, and organizing it in a way and perhaps extracting and presenting a new idea out of all of that knowledge, right? And so like, isn't that kind of what a sermon is, right? Isn't that kind of what we're talking about here? And so like, is the idea of using AI to create something that's simply different because it hasn't been said in the same way, is that plagiarizing, or are you creating is the creative part of it how you enter that information into your AI?
Well, I'm just gonna say I think it is plagiarism
Okay.
in a way. Yeah.
Do you think people are still going to do it?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Why? Like, why? There's like, something's not, you know, like something's not adding up here. Like, so like, why do you feel that?
Cause just
It's like, you know, some
yeah.
people, you know, that it's in some sense, weird,
Yeah.
perhaps wrong, generally uncomfortable, right? But it's still what most people are going to do. Yeah. And I feel like that is going to be something that your generation in particular beyond the Gen Zers, the Gen Ayers. I don't even know if that's the right term. Gen Ayers, like Generation A people.
Well, like Generation Alphas.
Generation Alphas. Oh, okay, that makes sense. But like, that's something that you are going to face probably at a much greater magnitude than I ever had to think about, right? You are presented, at least in the realm of technology, with stuff that is so addictive, whether or not because it was designed that way, or it's easy to access, or it's just really a more optimized and productive and efficient thing in many ways, that it is unattractive to try and take the slow route. In some sense, it might be illogical or just not as good of an idea. And I think that's going to worry a lot of people. I think that's going to worry a lot of parents. My kids are your age. Well, you're a little bit older than my kids, but like you're in the same generation,
yes.
right? But so what do you think is going to happen to you guys? Like when we're dead and gone, how are you guys going to change the landscape of what you have and use that in such a way that it's positive, or use that in such a way that it's helpful? Or are you just going to like collapse under it all and just everything bad's going to happen?
Well, I honestly don't know. A lot of different things could happen, but I feel like we can all work together to make it better, but not fix it fully.
Sure.
Because there's still going to be like bad and addictive things on the internet.
Tell me how you would make it better.
Well, try to like get a bunch of people to like raise awareness and make videos opposing to the bad and addictive things, and like just make a difference.
That's interesting, because I feel like that's something that my generation wants to do, but we don't have the time, willpower, energy, resources, whatever, to do it. I do feel that your generation will be the generation to do it. I think Gen Z got the short end of the stick in that they, in a lot of ways, are set up for failure. But I think that Generation Alpha, you guys will be able to learn from the failures and mistakes and problems of Gen Z. You guys will have the resources of my generation, perhaps, and the tools will be evolved enough by the time you're an adult where you can create that margin for yourself and use that to make a difference. And it's whether or not your generation chooses to, and that's the part that's like super intriguing to me. And that's something that I might never see in my lifetime, And so like, per your opinion, what can we do as someone who's like, I'm 20 something years older than you? What can I do now to help set you up for success when that moment comes?
Well, you can just like support us, and like give us positive like thoughts and like just everything positive,
Yeah. Yeah. How should my relationship to technology look like to you to make you want to do that later on?
Well, I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, like, so if I'm someone who uses AI all the time to create whatever I want to create, is that going to make you want to use AI more when you grow up? Or do you think it's something where you're going to feel like, this old guy is using AI for everything. I want to do something new. And therefore that's going to cause you to want to change it up?
Well, it's going to be a different case with different people, because some people will want to like look up to the older people, and some people will want to like stray away from what the older people are doing because they want to be like new and popular and like, yeah.
There's lots of research predicting that the global population is going to double again in your lifetime. And so that just feels like a lot of people, right? It just feels like almost completely unmanageable. And maybe, AI or tech in general is going to be able to help corral some of that and make that into something that's more reasonable for your generation to handle. Because like if you can you like think about all the crazy things that are happening in our world right now, and that's just what's happening with 8 billion people. But can you imagine like what that's going to look like when it's 16 billion people? You know, that's something you might see. So what would you tell your generation, and what would you tell my generation as far as like, here's what you can do to help?
Well, no idea.
No idea. Yeah. Just kind of write it out and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does your faith look like in light of all of this? Like how is technology and the way that you see the world change around you? What are the things that you're going to cling to?
I'm either gonna stay old school or just stay old school.
That's cool. I mean, that's totally fine. Yeah.
My music is gonna stay the same that it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. But maybe in every other aspect, I might move towards something new, but
yeah.
just like,
so what drives you? Like what drives you to want to feel like now at 10 years old that's such a strong conviction for you? Like why? Is that just because that's just who you are?
yeah.
Or, yeah, it's just who you are.
I like staying who I am. I don't like letting people influence me.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's in a good way.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. That's an interesting thing because, I forget what book or author or whoever said this, but it's like you are the product of the 5 people closest to you or something like that, right? And right now where you're at, I mean, 2 of those people are your parents and 3 of those people are probably like your buddies from school or something. Yeah. And so that's going to change for you in the next decade of your life. That's going to change dramatically for you, right? So what are you going to cling on to? Like what's going to be the thing that keeps you grounded?
Who I am right now.
Mm-hmm. Just who you are right now. Yeah. And who are you right now?
Me.
Sure. I'm trying. Like what?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a kid and I want to like stay. Like I want my imagination to stay like how it is. I want my creativity to stay how it is. I just want the mental things about me to stay how they are because I'm in a really good mental state as of now.
Mm-hmm. That's good. So part of my job then as your elder is to nourish that. Yeah. And so perhaps something I and we all could take from this is that in everything that we do, and really I think especially in the way that I model my technology use to my own kids, I should always be thinking about like, how is this nourishing to them? How is this something that's going to help them when they're my age? Because the world's going to look so different when you're my age. I think, maybe since like the Industrial Revolution, early 1900s, the world's changed and grown at a much faster rate than it ever did. And then now we're beginning to enter a time in human history where the world and the way humans interact with one another is going to change at a dramatically increased rate. Like we might experience 1,000 years worth of change in the next 5 years,
Yeah.
And so like, how is that going to affect us psychologically? How is that going to affect us physically, mentally? How's that going to affect us spiritually? And that's something that I think about constantly. And maybe what you said earlier is really important in that you just want to be yourself. You just want to be me, right? You just want to be grounded and not let those things perhaps speak into you at the insanely rapid rate that it's going to want to later on. Yeah. Cool. So tell me what else is new? How's your summer going?
Very good.
Yeah.
What about yours?
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's not that different other than my kids are home. You look sunburnt. Tell me about why you're sunburnt.
Oh, I haven't been wearing sunscreen.
Yes, that's a yes. Good. But spending lots of time outside in this 100-degree weather, that's good. I think that spending time outside is perhaps the most important thing that a kid can do. I think that the idea of just letting you run your imagination wild while you're playing outside or at a playground or at a park or wherever is like crucial to the development of who you are as a being when you grow up. And I find that is slowly being taken away from us because of technology. Yeah. And also because like I feel parents in general, myself included, are just a little more protective than they used to be. Like I remember when I was a kid, I was probably 5 or 6 and my mom would let me just like walk by myself to the playground that was maybe a quarter mile away and like play. And that was totally fine, you know? But now that's a different thing. So the reason why I know you so well is because, I pick up both you and my kids go to the same elementary school. And when I go pick them up, sometimes you're walking and you're just like, Mr. Ben, I need a ride. I'm like, okay, fine. But one thing that I think is really cool is that you walk home, generally speaking, right? And so that, do you ever get scared walking home by yourself? Do you ever feel like you're in danger?
No, because I usually walk with friends. My bandmate lives right next to me, and he used to go to that school.
Yeah.
And so I would walk with him usually.
Have you ever felt like you were in danger walking to or from school?
I mean, probably like once or twice.
But you knew what to do, right? You knew what to do, and you knew that if, and so like, I feel like that's the thing that's kind of missing. I feel like parents, again, myself included, just don't feel like you guys are as competent as you actually are. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like something shifted in the last 20 years where all of a sudden I'm going to wait for my kid to be 10 or 12 or whatever to go out and to the grocery store by themselves. Or a lot of times it's like until they get a driver's license, you're not going to let them, I don't know, walk. And so like, why is that? Why do you think that is? What happened?
Well, crime rate went up.
You know what? That's actually not true. And so if you looked at the data, the world, compared to when I was a kid, is a significantly safer place. When you look at, all the bad things, like kidnappings, murders, whatever, all the things that people feel like are just happening all the time. It's actually, that's gone considerably lower.
If I'm going to say that probably peaked in the 80s.
I don't know when it actually peaked, but I do feel like, whether it's because this news of when bad things happen get spread so quickly because we have Facebook and Instagram technology and all of that now that like, and I feel like it's just, that's kind of all we see on social media sometimes. I don't know what shows up on your feed. Like what shows up on your feed when you scroll, well, I don't know if you're on social media, but like when you scroll through stuff, YouTube or whatever, what do you see? Because like for me, a lot of what I see and what I see get reposted is like when something bad happens, people just share that and they're like, oh my gosh, look at this horrible thing that happened. Here's something we could do about it. But I feel like people are doing that all the time. And so the bad news, even if the bad news is just a tiny amount of what's actually happening in the world, that's basically everything that everyone's hearing.
Yeah.
Is that the case for you as well?
It can be sometimes, but it's usually like music stuff and like gaming stuff, and it's usually not bad things on my feed.
Okay.
But like it can be in some cases. If something really bad happens, then definitely it'll show up. But with just the little things, I'll probably see it like once. But
that's really interesting. So what in light of all of that, what advice would you give grown-ups as far as like, what do you feel like it is the best thing we can do to help you grow and just feel comfortable being yourself?
Support your kids.
Sure. Give me more specific things.
Okay. Well, definitely like lift them up if something like if they get like let down or like get in a fight at school or like well definitely not if they start the fight, but if they get bullied or like just like lift them up and like tell them the good things to do.
Yeah, always offer like a positive solution, maybe, rather than like just saying, like, here's what you did wrong. Always offering encouragement and always offering like, hey, this is here's maybe something you should think about. Yeah, I find that that's pretty hard for me actually. I tend to gravitate towards like, when I get mad, I'll tell my son or my daughter, it's like, here's why I'm mad at you, and sometimes I'll forget to tell them, here's maybe a better way that you could have done this, or here's maybe a better way that I could have reacted. I tend to forget that part. Like immediately I go to the kind of the reactionary thing, right? And I feel that like that's partially because I've spent 15 years of my life on the internet already, and that's kind of a very just a common thing, the way that these social media platforms and even YouTube, like that they're designed, it's all about, the actual thing and then how you respond to it, your comments, things. Whenever you're talking to someone in real life, when you respond to something, like if you do something that I'm like, this is not okay, Silas, I'll tell you that, and then we could talk about it and then work it out, right? But the way that like these social platforms work is that, you might say something and then I'll say something to that, I'll respond to it, but it might be a long time before you actually see what I said and then respond to it. So there's like a passage of time. It's like you are being forced when you're online to communicate with a bunch of people at once in a way that's realistically, physically not possible, right? When you're on social media, it's like for me, I follow maybe like 300 people. It's like how I'm kind of keeping little tracks of all of those people's lives. And the social media algorithm will design for me what I actually see, what parts of those lives that I see. But I don't think it's realistic to expect me to be able to fully invest in 300 separate relationships, So thank you for your advice. Support your kids, encourage them. What else?
Well, be good. Make sure to have a good life. Be positive to yourself. Don't let yourself down. And stay true.
Stay true. I like that. Cool. So tell me a little bit about your music and what it's about and when is it coming out? When are you releasing it? How are you doing it? You're 10. Like
well, I might actually request to record some of my music here.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And so I haven't recorded any songs yet as of now, but I have pretty much all the instruments necessary except the drum set, as I told you. But I feel like I just have pretty much everything necessary. Like I have like all the amps, like
you have the tools that you need.
Yes, I have the tools that I need.
What's really cool is I think in your generation, not only will you guys have more access to the tools that you need, but you'll be able to more easily ask for those tools. There's certain words like if you don't end up having a drum set, you could probably, find someone online who you can like pay $5 to and they'll just record a drum track for you and you'll be able to get it. I know lots of the programs that we use will generate things like drum tracks for you as well. So it's all available and ready to be used. So that's really cool. Keep on going at it, keep on pursuing whatever creatively fuels you up. I think that's really important. And I think that that's part of what makes you you. And I applaud that. So cool. Thank you for being on my podcast, sir. Hopefully we'll have you on the podcast again. Like it'd be cool to see, hey, what's Silas thinking a year from now or something like that.
Yeah.
But good luck with junior high. Have a great summer. And yeah, thanks again.
All right.
Well, you guys, thanks for tuning in to Grace at Night. We'll see you on the next one.